When you look at a syndication deal summary, you see projected returns, target IRR, equity multiple, preferred return rate. What most deal summaries don't show you clearly is what the GP earns, in fees, across the hold, before the profit split ever happens. Those fees come out of the deal's cash flow. They affect what's left for LPs. In this video I'm going to walk through every common GP fee, what reasonable ranges look like, what starts to be a red flag, and how to calculate total GP compensation on any deal you're evaluating. First, an important framing point. Fees are not inherently bad. GPs do real work, sourcing the deal, managing the transaction, overseeing operations, handling a disposition. Reasonable fees are appropriate compensation for that work. The issue is when fee structures are opaque, excessive, or structured in ways that misalign GP and LP incentives, where the GP earns regardless of whether the deal performs. Your job as an LP is not to find a zero-fee deal. It's to understand what you're paying, verify it's reasonable, and make sure the incentive structure points GP and LP in the same direction. Let me walk through the 4 common fees you'll see in most syndications. First, the acquisition fee. What it is: a one-time fee charged at closing, calculated as a percentage of the purchase price. Reasonable range, 1 to 2% of the purchase price. What it compensates for: sourcing the deal, performing due diligence, negotiating the contract, managing the closing process. Example: a $5 million purchase at 1.5% equals a $75,000 acquisition fee. Red flag territory: above 2% without clear justification. Some GPs layer acquisition fees on top of finder's fee arrangements, meaning they're being paid twice for sourcing. Ask what the fee covers specifically. Second, the asset management fee. What it is: an ongoing annual fee, typically calculated as a percentage of gross revenues or invested equity, paid throughout the hold. Reasonable range, 1 to 2% of gross revenues annually. Some deals use half to 1% of invested equity. What it compensates for: ongoing oversight of the asset, investor relations, financial reporting, strategic decision-making. Example: $500,000 in gross annual revenue at 1.5% equals $7,500 per year, or $37,500 over a 5-year hold. Red flag territory: AM fees charged on top of a full third-party property management fee without a clear distinction between what each covers. If the GP is charging an AM fee, it should be for oversight and investor relations, not duplicating property management services. Third, the disposition fee. What it is: a one-time fee at sale, calculated as a percentage of the sale price or net proceeds. Reasonable range, half to 1% of gross sale price. What it compensates for: managing the disposition process, marketing, negotiation, lender payoff coordination, closing. Example: a $7 million sale at 1% equals a $70,000 disposition fee. Red flag territory: disposition fees charged alongside a full broker commission. The question is whether the GP is being paid twice for the same work. If they waive the broker commission and take a disposition fee, fine. Stacking both is worth a question. Fourth, the construction and renovation management fee. What it is: a fee for directly overseeing renovation work, typically charged as a percentage of the total renovation budget. Reasonable range, 5 to 10% of the renovation budget, when the GP is actively managing the renovation. What it compensates for: the full-time work of running a renovation, hiring and overseeing contractors, managing timeline and budget. Example: $500,000 in renovation budget at 7% equals a $35,000 construction management fee. Red flag territory: construction management fees charged when a third-party general contractor or property management firm is actually doing the management work. If the GP isn't doing the renovation management, they shouldn't be charging for it. Now let me talk about the promote, and how it relates to fees. The promote, the GP's share of profits above the preferred return, is covered in detail in the waterfall video. Here I want to address one key ratio. What percentage of total GP compensation on this deal is fees versus promote? A GP whose significant compensation is in the promote only earns well if LPs earn well first. That's alignment. A GP whose total fees exceed the promote at base case returns is being compensated primarily regardless of performance. That's not necessarily disqualifying, but it changes the incentive structure in a way you should understand. Ask directly, if I add up all the fees on this deal over the full hold, and compare that to the projected promote at base case returns, what's the ratio? A good GP will walk you through the math. One who deflects or gives vague answers to a direct arithmetic question deserves more scrutiny. Here's how to calculate total GP compensation on any deal. Start with the fees. Let me use a concrete example. Acquisition fee, $75,000. That's 1.5% of a $5 million purchase price. Asset management fee, $37,500. That's 1.5% of $500,000 in annual gross revenue, over a 5-year hold. Disposition fee, $70,000. That's 1% of a $7 million projected sale price. Construction management fee, $35,000. That's 7% of a $500,000 renovation budget. Total fees, $217,500. Now add the projected promote at base case returns. Assume the deal raises $2 million in LP equity. At an 8% preferred return, LPs must receive $160,000 per year before the GP participates in profits. At a typical 70/30 split above the preferred return, if the deal generates $500,000 above the preferred, the GP's promote is $150,000. So in this example, total fees, $217,000. Projected promote at base case, $150,000. Ratio, fees exceed promote. That's not automatically a red flag, deal size and work involved matter. But it means the GP's primary financial incentive is fee collection, not performance. Know what you're in. Let me give you the specific red flags to watch for. Red flag 1, fees that aren't disclosed up front. If you have to ask what the fees are, or find them buried on page 40 of the PPM, that's a problem. A reputable GP discloses fee structures clearly in the deal summary. Red flag 2, fees that scale with deal size without corresponding work. A 500-unit acquisition doesn't require 10 times more work than a 50-unit deal, but at the same percentage, the acquisition fee is 10 times larger. Some deals scale fees proportionally to work, many don't. Red flag 3, new fees added mid-hold. The fees in the original operating agreement are the deal. If a GP introduces new fees for services not covered in the OA, lease-up fees, refinance fees, loan modification fees, without LP approval, that's a governance issue. Red flag 4, fees payable even in poor performance. Some OAs allow fees to accrue even when the property isn't generating sufficient cash flow, meaning LPs get no distributions, but the GP continues to collect. This is particularly worth understanding in the AM fee structure. Here are the questions to ask any GP on fees. 1. Can you provide a complete fee schedule, all fees, percentages, and bases, before I review the PPM? 2. What is the ratio of projected total fees to projected promote at base case returns? 3. Are any fees waived or reduced if the property underperforms? 4. Are there any fees not listed in the deal summary that appear in the operating agreement? 5. If you add up every dollar the GP earns, fees and promote, what is that as a percentage of total LP equity invested? These questions are not adversarial. They're the math of the deal. A GP who respects their LPs will answer them directly. Here's the summary. The 4 common fees in real estate syndications: acquisition fee, asset management fee, disposition fee, and renovation management fee. Reasonable ranges and what to look for. The promote relationship: understand the ratio of fees to promote. Fee-heavy compensation structures misalign incentives. How to calculate total GP compensation: add up all fees over the hold, add the projected promote at base case, and understand what percentage of LP equity that represents. Red flags: undisclosed fees, fees that scale without proportional work, new fees added mid-hold, fees accruing in poor performance. The LP due diligence checklist has a full fee structure section, linked in the description. Subscribe for the next one. We're going to walk through what actually happens between your commitment and your wire, the LP onboarding process and what to expect. Thanks.